I'm just recording. All right, here we go. You ready? Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. This is LeTa Gisela.
Hey, Michelle Bean here.
And we want to talk to you today about a liver detox. And we're just not doing another, I'm going to start over. I mean, we can quick time, yeah. iMovie. Happy autumn, everyone. This is LeTa Gisela. I'm a licensed acupuncturist and herbalist.
Hey, Dr. Michelle Bean here. I'm a chiropractor out of Santa Cruz.
And we are here today to go over very succinctly what our autumn cleanse is. Now, it's way more than a cleanse. It's actually a liver detox. And I want to talk about the importance of why we really need to cleanse. This isn't optional anymore. It used to be. We're living in a world where there are so many toxins. And I'm talking about, lately what happened with the hurricanes, what happened in Texas. We are not immune to environmental disaster. The mold they're talking about in Texas right now. I live in Santa Cruz, like Michelle just said, and you know what? There's a lot of mold here in houses, especially in the East Coast, humidity, heavy metals, again, amalgams in your mouth, plastics, environmental toxins. So if you are on pharmaceuticals, prescription meds, if you are drinking alcohol, if you partake in cannabis, there are lots of ways and reasons why we need our liver to function well. I mean, even just stress alone. So as an acupuncturist, we always want you to cleanse in the spring and in the fall. So here we are in the fall, and I'm super excited to not just do another cleanse. We have been doing cleanses for the last 15 years with patients and clients, and they have been amazing. But what we're realizing, two things. One is we needed to find a cleanse that was super simple, that gave people an option on which lifestyle changes they needed to take. So this cleanse is super amazing because it doesn't take a lot of psychic energy, a lot of mental energy, where you have to cook and chop foods and look at recipes and stuff like that. This is the easiest cleanse that we have found. And number two is we needed to find the supplements where they were pretty much 100% absorbable. They're little liquids, little pumps. They're amazing because of the technology from this functional medical doctor out of Boulder. So we want to very shortly, and Dr. Bean's going to go over the cleanse, the detox, but I just wanted to introduce that, at this point, this isn't an option. I mean, do not wait until you have a chronic disease or inflammation has gotten out of control. Think of this as the oil change so you can run cleaner and more efficient, because it is an investment. It's mainly a financial investment, but I'll tell you, it's going to be so much cheaper to invest in yourself now than when you're going to have a problem. Because I'll tell you, what I've seen clinically, things are just happening more quickly, rapid than we have ever seen. And I want to make sure that that does not happen to you. Okay, so Dr. Bean, you want to take it over?
All right, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about this liver detox. And LeTa is correct. It's not just a cleanse. We're not talking about how we can just cleanse the body. We're literally looking at a detoxification protocol to eliminate toxins from the body. So I'm hoping that this is going to be brief. I am a science geek. I love geeking out at the science. But once you understand what's happening with the toxicity in the world, you understand how our bodies are designed very specifically to remove those toxins and where the blockages have been, especially in the last 50, 60, 70 years in this country. But it's really ramping up now. So we call this a liver detox. And I just wanted you to briefly know, of course, there's the liver. You see, I think that's a pretty cool picture there. But the liver has a lot of functions, a lot of different functions for the liver. It is the main detoxification organ of the body. It's involved in digestion. It's involved in protein synthesis, hormone production, metabolism. It's literally essential for our survival. We cannot live without our liver. So we are talking about a liver detox. When I say liver detox, we're assuming that the liver is a huge part. It's playing a huge role. But in order for the liver to function and to detox, we have to detox all the cells in the body. So wherever the toxins are stored and living, that's what we need to talk about. So this is a complicated picture here. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but basically you can see up in the top, it says phase 1, phase 2. And that's just a cell. That's just a regular old cell. And it could be a cell anywhere in the body. But what happens is we do store toxins inside of our cells. If you go down to the middle there, you see the little tube with what looks like red blood cells coming out of it. The other idea is that we have toxins in our red blood cells. In our red blood cells, sorry, in our vasculature. So the blood. So the blood that's flowing through our body, and also the lymph. So it's the two major fluid systems of the body. And there's a lot of toxins that we can store in there. We have to have ways to eliminate them and remove them from those areas. And then two, they're kind of hidden behind these blocks that say phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. But you can see the liver there. And then over to the side, you can see the kidneys. And basically what happens is once we catch these toxins out of different cells and out of the blood and out of the lymph and out of the extracellular matrix, it is transported to either the liver or the kidneys. In the liver, what happens in the liver is we have, you guys have heard of gallbladder. So we have gallbladder, and it has stored bile in it. And bile is secreted, and the idea of that is to push the toxins out into the small intestine. So the function of the bile is to bind. This is where we make a lot of the chemicals, the components that bind to these toxins, and then push them into the digestive system where they can then be eliminated into the excretion devices down there. So that's the basic overview. Why do we need to detox? Again, it's, and I've heard people say, it's like, I eat really good. I eat really clean foods, and I don't need to lose weight, and I don't need to detox because I'm living a really clean and healthy lifestyle. The truth is that just our environment in general is producing so much toxicity, and because we live in environments, we end up taking on a lot of that toxicity. One of the biggest ones, of course, is metals. We know that we have mercury, a lot of mercury exposure. There's arsenic, there's iron, and a lot of other metals that get stored in our body. Environmental pollutants, you guys, pesticides, herbicides, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's in the food system. It's in the soil. It's in the water. There's plasticizers. So much work being done around plastics right now. Plastics is in everything. And those components that begin to break down are incredibly resilient. So are it says they're halogenated hydrocarbons. You don't need to know what that is. They're different flame retardants, VOCs. The point of all those is that they're designed in industry to be incredibly resilient to breaking down. That's why we get the really, really hard plastic. But what happens, it's also very, very hard to break it down in our own systems, right? So if you've ever been exposed to any kind of organic pollutant, then it's potentially sitting inside of your body because it's very difficult to break it down. And the last one is the biological toxins. So there's a lot of toxicity that our body creates naturally that, again, just sits in our body unless we have a method and a way to detoxify it, which we do. But the question is it functioning?
And maybe just tell them what LPS is so they know.
LPS, lipopolysaccharides. So what that is, it's kind of a byproduct of chronic infections in the body. So when you have chronic infections, especially in the intestines and the gut, what happens is pieces of those are released into the bloodstream. And because they're so small, they can cross all the blood-brain barriers and get right up into the brain. So it's kind of a neurotoxin, really. Mold, candida, limes. There's a lot of other ones. This is a short list. So very briefly, there's a lot of words on this here screen. You don't have to know what all of this is. Okay, so just stay with me for a quick second. I just want to explain how the detox systems work in the body. It is brilliantly designed. So there's 3 phases that actually have to happen in order to eliminate a toxin from either the cell or the liver. So what happens is, let's just assume that we have a toxin inside of a cell. The first thing that has to happen is phase 1, which means it is set up to be removed. So what happens is a compound is removed from this toxin. It immediately becomes a free radical. And that allows the body to notice it and try to conjugate or bind it. So that's phase 2. What happens is when we activate these toxins, phase 2 is designed to come in and bind it, right? So the first thing it does is it stops that free radical damage that happens within the cells. So it's called conjugation or binding. You can just think of it as we have these these binders that inside of our cells that go on, and that they bind this toxin, and now it becomes water soluble. So the next thing it can do is it can now be released from the body. It really prepares the transport of it outside the body. And of course, phase 3 is that transport outside of the body. There's a lot of ways that that these toxins are transported from, I don't mean from the body, I'm sorry, I meant from the cell, directly from the cell. So what happens is once it's transported out of the cell, we have these transport proteins that sit on the outside of the cell. This is a huge part of it. And it doesn't matter what type of toxin it is, it pretty much uses that same transport protein to eliminate it out of the cell. So again, what I said, when it goes outside of the cell, it's called the extracellular matrix. And the important thing to know about the extracellular matrix is that once it's in there, the idea is that it's going to diffuse into the capillaries. So it's searching for the blood vessels in the body, specifically the small ones, the blood capillaries, right? So, but in order for that to happen, we have to have motion, right? We can't have stagnation in our lymph, in the extracellular matrix, which is very fluid, or in the blood. So this is a really, really big part of detoxification, is allowing that to be transported over to the blood vessels, the capillaries again. And then from there, from the blood, it diffuses, or it's transferred over to the liver and to the kidneys. And again, we talked about that. So those are the main ways that, oh, let me tell you one thing, right in the liver there, and I think I mentioned the bile already, but bile has a fluidity to it. It definitely has a fluidity, and a lot of the detox methods, or the way that detox is blocked in the body, is when the liver isn't flowing and the bile salts and the bile isn't flowing and pushing that through. There is a lot of push that has to happen once those toxins are released from the cell. This is a big part, is that fluid, the motion, and pushing those fluids through the body and the different body systems. So basically, so all of that being said, I hope you were able to follow that. But basically, there's two basic types of detox, right? So it's a cellular detox and then a drainage. So we have to remove it from the cell, and then we have to drain it from the body. And the blood and the lymph, the kidneys, the liver, the GI are the ones, the main job is to do that process in the detoxification pathway. So you can see that pretty, in the middle there, you see the yellow, kind of looks like a chain. That's the outside of this. That is the cell membrane. So it's what, how do you explain it? It's the part that is the barrier between the inside of the cell and the outside of the cell, basically. And then those big shaped white things, the whole point of those are the transporters. That's how toxins are released, and that's how nutrients are actually delivered into the cell as well. So without spending too much time on this is just kind of a cool graph. I graphed this off of Quicksilver, which is where we're getting our detox today. So at the top up there, you'll see that it's the activation phase. So you take the toxin, you have to activate it. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is, those are just conjugators. Those are binders. So that's the phase 2. Those are very, very specific pathways that create these compounds, which again is a huge part of liver pathways and liver functioning. So we have to really understand those when we're talking about detoxification. We don't, right? The people who are designing our detox protocols are the ones who have to understand all these phases. So basically in the middle there, it's a transport protein, and it goes all the way down to the liver. And you can see at the bottom there, when you have a normal small intestine, that's where it's dumped into. So what goes wrong? So some of the things that we just talked about is one of them, if you have inflammation in the gut, then it's very difficult for that final process of elimination to happen. So if we have a lot of toxicity build up in our liver, right, and then it's going through the bile, and the bile's pushing it up, but then we can't actually get it into the gut, what happens is we get this backing up. And that's what I was talking about, that flow, that bile flow, in that constant motion of moving toxins through the system. So if we have inflammation, that's the first barrier that we have. So inflammation in the gut. And have you ever heard of some of these inflammatory bowel diseases, right? So there's Crohn's, there's irritable bowel, there's just a bunch of like inflammation in the gut, basically. So that's the first blocker that we have. So that keeps the toxins from going into the intestines, which I said already. The second one is poor membrane health. So when I talk about membranes, I mean the cell again. So in this picture up here, if you see the bottom left, it says fluid, and then you see the other one that says viscous. And at the top up there, the cellular membrane is designed to have fluidity. It's designed to move. And the reason that it has to have that fluid motion is because the way that molecules are transported through that membrane is by changing shape. So these transporter proteins that we saw in that other picture are designed to change shape. And when they change the shape, that's when they can transport things. So it has to have a fluidity to it. And you can see down at the bottom there, when it's non-saturated, so saturated fats are very bad for the cell membrane. So people who have been consuming a lot of saturated fats, meat is a huge one. So anyone who has been eating corn-fed cows all their life run the risk of having very non-fluid cellular membranes, and any of the other processed foods out there that have pretty terrible oils in them. So anyways, we want to keep the fluidity going. So poor membrane health is going to block that transport of the toxins outside of the body. And then the last one is the stagnation of bile or blood or lymph, right? So that idea of like continuing to move that through the body. So there's a fluidity that's happening. I'm going to cut all this out. I'm just going to go forward.
It's getting way too long.
I know.
And too technical.
All right, so what happens next then? So we said that there's, when the cellular membrane is stagnant, when the cellular membrane is unhealthy, it's really hard to get these toxins through. But any kind of backing up, I guess, this is what I'm trying to say. So any kind of backing up of these toxins in the body is going to create a lot of problems for the bodies, right? So it's not just that we feel like we need to lose weight or that we need to eat better foods. It's like we literally, when we have this buildup of toxins in the body, it's going to create major systems or dysfunction in the body. So inflammation is a big one. We know that it is one of the leading causes of so many diseases in Western, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Shit. Damn it. All right, so what happens next, you guys, is why we need to detox. We really want to stay away from these major symptoms and diseases that are being created. We know that inflammation is huge in our society today, and it is one of the main reasons that we have so many diseases. Genetic mutation. So what happens when we get those free radicals running around, when it doesn't bind and then eliminates, we get these free radicals that run around inside of our cells, and those change the genetic expression of our DNA. That's a really big deal. That's cancer. And then there's a lot of immune system dysfunction, and it's really changing from our innate ability to kill off bacteria and molds and cancer cells to more of an allergic type of immune system, which is designed to attack allergens or things outside of the body. But that's what it's attacking nowadays is pretty much our food, so attacking our own body. So a lot of immune system dysfunction, genetic mutations, and inflammation. We don't want that. We want to avoid that. So I really like Quicksilver. Again, there's a very specific reason that we chose Quicksilver this time around, really understanding what Dr. Christopher Shade and his organization has done with the understanding of detoxing. He is like the metals and molded detox guru pretty much in the entire nation right now, and we could probably argue for the entire world. But he has set up this one. It's very specific for the liver. He has 4 main parts to it. It's a 30-day detox. Again, you don't necessarily have to change anything, because what this does, you certainly can for lifestyle, and LeTa's going to talk about that, or she already talked about that. But the main job of this is because it's using liposomal technology, it's just a delivery system that's going to get it right into the cell, right? So we don't have to set up the entire body, and we don't have to like change what we're eating. We don't have to eliminate everything in order for this to get into the cell. It's actually because of the technology is going to get right into the cell and do what it's designed to do. So 2 glutathione, that just means that glutathione is one of the main antioxidants of the body. It is one of the main detoxifying agents. So we get 2 of those right into the cells. Phosphatidylcholine, all that is it's a Again, it's a liquid, it's a pump, it goes underneath the tongue, and it supports cell membranes. So when I was talking about cell membrane, it's really important that we have very, very healthy cells because they do so many things in the body, but one of them is eliminating toxins. So this one is going to help repair and really maintain really healthy cell membranes. Dr. Shade's Bitters number 9, this is a huge one. This is something that most cleanses and detox don't even talk about. They don't ever consider it, but it literally is. There's a lot of Chinese herbs in here. Ayurvedic medicine talks a lot about it, but what he's using is he's using herbs to stimulate the flow of bile and lymph and blood through the system. So again, we get that pushing out of the toxins through the body. I think that's a really brilliant addition to this specific protocol. And then again, we get 1-methyl B complex, and it's just one of the main metabolic cofactors. So it's supporting the liver, supporting metabolic function in the body. I think it's a very, very well-designed liver detox kit, and I'm super excited to introduce this to all of you.
That's great. Great, Dr. Bain. So is that our last slide?
That's it.
Okay. So I just want to say that this is a financial investment way over than anything else. So you'll notice that even just looking at these bottles, super easy, accurate dosage pump, and all liquid. So again, not using any digestive fire, super easy, take in the morning, take at night, so you can leave it at home, everything but one. So 3 of the supplements are fine in the shade in your cupboard, but 1 will have to be refrigerated. So what's amazing about this is that it comes with super easy instructions, and what we have done is come up with suggestions for you to be successful. And again, they're all optional. So we're talking about, could you take a break from alcohol, or do you want to take a break, from certain things? And so we're suggesting certain things, but you know what? It's not required. And that's what I also love about this. What I know about the human body right now in the year 2017, and we're in America, is that it's overloaded. It is underlying fatigue based on Chinese medicine. We're tired. We're fighting different, immune issues. And the thing is that, oh gosh, I said this in the beginning, but I believe that in order to truly be sustainable and thrive, you have to look at your whole system as an entity, as an energetic physical component, because if you don't, you're missing something huge. And so we're super passionate about making sure that you have what you need. And I think cleansing is a super it's actually a critical part of our lifestyle now. It's not like, oh, I should go on a cleanse. It's yes, you definitely need to. So I am prescribing this to you. If you're watching this, I want you to spread the word and enroll a friend, enroll someone in your family to do it with you, because if you care, you want to clean up. I'm super grateful that we've been studying under Dr. Shade for a long time, love his company. And we're going to be doing it with you. I mean, what better is to have practitioners be doing it with you, be supporting you. What we're offering you is support, full support. We're giving everybody our cell phones. So instead of doing group calls and group Zoom meetings and stuff like that, we just want to make sure we're supporting you one-on-one. And that's super important. We have a little PDF ebook guide on cleansing that we're giving to all of our patients. And we just suggest that you say yes, make the financial investment, and join us, because you definitely won't regret it. Anything else?
That's it. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thanks, everybody.